Not sure about this music either, but the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. The SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Sound and Communications, the leader in audio, video, visual equipment. They can design and install it for you for your church AV system, conference room, sound and video systems, your school PA system, your hospital PA system. And, of course, they have worked with Power 5 programs, G5 programs, community colleges and high schools, businesses, and churches. That is Soundcom. Sound and Communications, soundcomav.com. The leader in audio and visual equipment, design, and install, soundcomav.com. Sound and Communications. Businesses, churches, and facilities in the state of Mississippi. Of course, they've worked all over. I mean, they've worked at Texas A&M, among many other schools. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. It is a Taco Tuesday presented by Modelo. We welcome in Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Mike, before I get into all the quarterback news and Michael Thomas and all the stuff that's going on in the NFL, I just wanted to get your thoughts on Texas and Oklahoma joining the Southeastern Conference.
Well, I think the NCAA and college football that we sort of grew up with is dramatically changing in real time. We see it now, once, this name, image, likeness got voted basically overwhelmingly in the Supreme Court. We see now the expansion of 4 to 12 teams come playoff time, the jump Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC is dramatically changing, and more to come. And goes to show, Greg Sankey, who had a couple of missteps early on as commissioner, is a bit of visionary here of what to do and what he sees. And yes, Texas and Oklahoma will bring a lot of money to the table, but what's happening in front of our very eyes means that you're going to have to make more money. And what better schools to do in the SEC than Texas and Oklahoma at this stage? And it's setting the stage for the other conferences to make dramatic moves. Again, the Pac-12, which has been asleep at the wheel now for at least 15 years, they caught flat-footed again. They had opportunities a few years back to bring in both Texas and Oklahoma and decided not to do it. And, so now you're seeing the tremendous power of the Southeast Conference and also the unraveling of the control that has been in place for so many years of the NCAA.
True.
It's unraveling in front of your very eyes. Power and control where the SEC is telling them, okay, you once drove the train. Now you sit in the caboose and we driving it. You're going to get your cut like a bookie. You're going to get your cut of it, but you're not controlling anything. We are. And you might like it, dislike it, want it back to the old days. There is no good old days. It is what it is today. And what I'm telling you is it is changing in front of your eyes every day with more to come. And the power of the NCAA being diminished every second that we take a breath.
Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans, on the Modelo guest line. I think most everybody knows this, but Aaron Rodgers just reported to Lambeau Field, so we'll talk about that with Mike here in just a second. Mike, how do you think it'll affect college football recruiting with Texas and Oklahoma coming in? I mean, LSU has had great success going to Texas. Bama among other teams. Do you think it'll be business as usual? They'll just fight it out in the street, or it will shift a little one way or another? How do you see it?
Well, Texas is just trying to just hold the number 2 spot in the state. A&M now is dominating. If you paid attention to recruiting the last couple of years, it's been A&M. That's been the team in the state of Texas recruiting. And you're right about Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, heavily recruiting in that area. And so that's going to continue. That's not going to stop. I've talked to Coach O about it, and he has basically said, hey, listen, it doesn't matter who's in the conference. We're recruiting Texas. It's a major spot for them. The proximity, a lot of LSU people in the Texas area, either for work or family obligations. So that won't stop at all. The big question mark is for this powerhouse base that has beat their chest for years about how great they are. Texas is fighting just for the number 2 to hold on to the number 2 spot in the state of Texas.
I think Sark will change that, Mike.
Well, he better bring a big lunch, because Jimbo Fisher at A&M is giving him a lot of issues, a lot. And you talk to Texas coaches, they don't beat around the bush. That A&M has become the power football-wise in recruiting in the state of Texas. Sark or no Sark, he better win, and he better win fast. Now, he gives you an opportunity to play quicker at Texas. But, boy, man, I'm just telling you. And this is coming from the mouth of people that are on the staff or around Texas, that A&M has become a major pain in the Yoctobe. I mean, they are in there, and it is a street fight. And Alabama and LSU's influence in the state has them fighting, every battle for a top player. That was not the case 15 years ago or 10 years ago. Today it is. Now you're bringing in a coach who had a pretty good resume, had some personal issues, and now comes in with a reputation certainly of being the quarterback whisperer. I think that's the quickest change you can see in Texas. Can he find a superstar quarterback to get that team back on another level?
Arch Manning?
Defensively, well, they're in the hunt for it, but they're not in the top spot. That's all I can tell you. As far as I'm concerned, they're not in the top spot, but they are in the hunt, no question about it. But I think, too, is the big dramatic change in talking to people at Texas and even in other schools has been their defense has been so bad. I mean, 2 words, lousy. I mean, they really have not played good defense. They've scored enough points to win. It's just that defensively they can't stop anyone. And those top defensive players leaving the state to go to a Florida, an LSU, an Alabama, an Oklahoma now, A&M, and they want to know, if I'm a top recruit, okay, how many guys you put in the NFL on defense? What's your top defensive lineman? When's the last time you had a couple first-round pick defensive linemen or linebackers, cornerbacks? It does matter to that 16, 17, 18-year-old. No, he wants to see some evidence. You can talk a good game, but you got to win it.
Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds show and the Modelo guest line. Mike, so you don't think Texas is number one? Who is number one right now in the recruitment of Arch Manning?
I think Clemson is. I've always felt that way. Dabo has had a good relationship with the Manning family. You go back and look at sort of the connect the dots with from Boyd to Watson to Trevor Lawrence, now DJ. You got a pretty good lineage of quarterbacks that have come out of Clemson, recruit and develop. A lot of talent at the receiver position. And it gives Arch an opportunity to Old Red didn't have Peyton or Eli play for a national championship.
Yeah.
And so I've always felt Clemson. Now, listen, a year ago, I was reading all this stuff about how LSU was in the top spot, which I'm still laughing at. Come on, Arch Manning's not going to LSU. That come on, there's a little bit too much there. So that's not. I know his teammates are going there, but again, it's a different story. I just felt Clemson, because they give you so much from a standpoint of lineage at quarterback, a team that can play for a national championship and has, it sort of put them in that position where they, I think, have a slight advantage over the other schools. Mm. Now, do the heartstrings pull? Because I know how Arch grew up. I know where Cooper was on Saturday afternoons. They were watching Ole Miss. So that certainly will play a part in it. Texas is certainly a school to watch because it gives them an opportunity to build something, to be a part of something, to rebuild a program that was once a great program. But if you're asking, I'm going to say I think Clemson's in the top spot because of the advantages that they have and the fact that they have played for national championships and been a national contender. And it keeps him in the South. He's not that far away.
Do you think it's a 3-horse race? Clemson, Ole Miss, and Texas, and really everybody else is on the outside looking in? Or do you think a fourth team or so could get in the mix, Mike?
I know Georgia and Alabama has been in the mix. In the same reasons LSU, would be hard for me to see him play at Alabama too. There's just certain things there. Growing up, it would be difficult. I know Georgia has recruited him very, very hard, but I see it's a 3-horse race here, and I do think that Clemson, Texas, Ole Miss, if you had to handicap it, it would be that.
Okay. Yeah. Clemson, Texas, Ole Miss. This is going to be fascinating. Let's go to NFL QBs. He is Mike Detillier on the Modelo guest line. All right, Mike, Aaron Rodgers is going to play for Green Bay one more year. They restructured his contract. He's going to be able to get out of there. Handicap it for me. Where do you have Green Bay in the NFC right now in your power rankings?
Well, I think, you got anybody other than Tampa Bay, you're not watching. I thought the Rams were a really strong 2 and still think that they're a 2, but they're not as good without Cam Akers. Man, I don't know how you cut it, but losing him, and Henderson's a good player. I saw him certainly in high school in Mississippi. He goes to Memphis. He was a good back there. But Cam Akers at the end of last season really was playing well. You could see he had hit his stride. That's a major loss for the Rams, no matter how you cut it. When you lose him, he's not going to, and lose it the way you lost him. That really hurts. But I would put them in the 3 spot. I think defensively they are a very good football team. They can run the football extremely well. You got a superstar quarterback. You got a superstar receiver in Devontae Adams, who's playing now basically for another deal. And we all know what happens with guys playing for that money year. And, you got a tight end that's really developed there. So I would put them a very close 2B behind the Rams. And, all this stuff about, it's going to divide the locker room. Man, if you've never been in an NFL locker room or been around NFL players, man, they could care less about, what's happening with a star player.
No doubt.
They're worried about their own money.
That's right.
They're not worried about your money. They're worried about their own money. But I've read so many stories, and we've done sports talk. Well, that's going to divide the locker room. Man, if that divides it, then you don't have much of a locker room. All I'm telling you is, guys, today they're worried about winning and worrying about getting paid. And so
you nailed it, Mike.
Aaron Rodgers gives them the best opportunity to win. Man, Jordan Love ain't winning you many games in Green Bay. That's all I'm telling you. Listen, if he's struggling in practice, and that's coming from people who cover the Packers, he was struggling to complete passes and make the right calls in practice. What's going to happen when you put him in a real game?
Oh,
people don't like to hear this, and I think we're in that sort of society today, young and old, that somebody's better than you. Okay, Aaron Rodgers on the roll call, you don't have to peel off many names or name that's better than him.
no.
He's a cut above.
Yes.
But you can't when you say that on talk show radio or you write that, people, I can name you 8 or 9 guys that can. No. Come on. You're not living in the real world. It's just like, when I leave this place, somebody else can never do my job. Yeah, believe that. They got people that can replace you. Now, they'll have somebody replace Aaron in Green Bay, but he won't be as good. Won't be nearly as good.
No.
Me and Abear always argue about this because Bobby's like, Mike, it's got to be next man up. I said, well, it depends on who the next man is.
Amen to that.
Come on. That's great to tell the fans and the media, and it's a great soundbite. But in reality, players and coaches know who the top guys are. Aaron Rodgers is at the upper level. No matter what you might think about his personality and how he gets along with, come on, he's a cut above football player. And with him not on that team, man, the Packers would have liked to have shown him the middle finger and told him to get lost. But they couldn't do it. They knew what they had. Their deal is, let's do a kumbaya moment. Play this year, and we'll figure out next year after the season's over with.
Bam. The interview today is brought to you by Sound and Communication, soundcomav.com. We're visiting with our friend Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Mike joins us on the Modelo guest line. Mike, where is Deshaun Watson headed? Where will he land?
That's a good question. I can't see him return to Houston for any length of time before they deal him. The problem with that, Bo, if it was just a player not wanting to be there, you could deal him and you could get tremendous value back for him. And you will, no matter what. But now you have to also throw in the legal part of things. And even if there is no criminal charges, the NFL stepping in and suspending him, if it's 6 games, 8 games, who knows how long, they don't have to have a criminal charge. We saw it with Roethlisberger. They suspended him for 6 games.
Right.
That was really no criminal situation involved with that. That was handled, out of court. So that really complicates things. The only thing with that, too, is you better have a strong head coach and locker room leaders that will say, hey, this isn't going to distract us. You're here to win games, to be a good teammate, and we won't let that noise get to us. But in some locker rooms, that could affect you. Because every day when you're going to step up to that microphone if you're a head coach, you're going to have to answer that question. So you better have a coach that spine is made out of titanium because, man, you getting it every day.
Yeah.
Somebody nationally, locally, they're going to be asking you about the situation with Watson. And so I can't see him stay. I really can't in Houston. There's been a lot of talk about Philly as a destination spot. And if I'm Denver, what's the only way I can get back in the race in the AFC West? Is to get me a quarterback. I'm not sure how good.
What were they
Drew Lock
thinking,
is.
Mike? What were they thinking going after another corner rather than going and getting Justin Fields? I mean, I know you don't know what he'll be, but you and I have had this discussion hundreds of times. You got to have a QB to have a chance. What were they thinking?
And you're in the same spot as a guy by the name of Mahomes.
Yeah.
Herbert.
Yeah, I mean, and Justin Herbert could be a star in this league. Good grief.
So my thing is, I get that you needed a corner, but, boy, did you need a quarterback. Now, in the back of their minds, did they think, okay, we've had a bunch of draft picks, let's solidify the cornerback spot, and then let's sort of package a bunch of draft choices off and try to get Watson when he becomes available. The problem becomes how many games will he play this year, and how long will it take the commissioner to make that decision? Come on, he's never been somebody to make a quick decision about anything. He is the biggest procrastinator in the world when it comes down to that. So will you have him for 10 games, 8 games if you deal for him? But it would be difficult for me to see him still in Houston after the preseason's over. I think by that time you'll have a better gauge of things legally. And the commissioner, if you're going to make that trade, your owner's got to get on that phone and say, come on, Roger, kind of tell us what you're looking at from a suspension standpoint.
We'll leave it there. He is Mike Detillier, WWL Radio, TV New Orleans, joining us on the Modelo guest line. Thanks, Mike. We'll dive into the Saints and some other stuff next week, buddy.
Thank you, Bo.
Oh, and Jimmy Johnson, because he's going in the Hall of Fame. I want to get Mike's thoughts on that. Yes, we'll do 20 minutes on Jimmy Johnson, one of my favorite coaches ever. Hey, the interview and this segment is brought to you by Sound and Communications, the leader in audio and visual equipment that can propel your business, your church, your facility to a whole nother level. SoundcomAV.com, their headquarters now, right there by RPT Commercial and Miskelly Furniture by the airport. SoundcomAV.com. That's SoundcomAV.com.